I brought 2 men to my room, made them follow my lead. They gave me everything. But it still wasn't enough. Not even close. So I looked them in the eyes and said, "Don't hold back. Show me what you really can do." Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if this is your first time here, welcome. You picked a wild one to start with. Let's get into it. The water was hot, almost too hot. But I didn't care, I needed something. Anything to take the edge off. I'd been chasing relief for minutes, moving in slow, focused circles. But nothing was happening. Not the way I needed it to. My back was pressed against the cool tile, chest rising and falling, lips parted in silence as I tried again. Slower than faster. Still no release. I adjusted my stance, one leg braced against the wall. Trying a different angle, my palm flattened. My breath quickened. And I bit down on my lip when a tiny flicker of sensation sparked. But it faded just as fast. I let out a low, frustrated sigh and didn't stop. I kept going, I clenched, shifted. Applied more pressure, hoping something would build. My skin grew hypersensitive. My body feverish, but nothing I did seemed to be enough. I even closed my eyes and tried to picture something. Someone, anything that might finally carry me through it. But the images came and went like static. Too fuzzy, too far. My hands started to ache, still nothing. I needed more, I was aching for it. It was like my skin was too tight, my pulse too high, and nothing. Not even my own hands could fix it. The need was there, screaming under my skin. But that tension refused to break. I let out a breathless groan and slammed the water off, annoyed with myself with the motel. With the stillness of the night, I grabbed a towel from the hook and wrapped it around my chest. With a little more force than necessary, the air in the room was cool against my damp skin. I padded over to the bed, dropped a fresh cloth over the sheets, and collapsed onto my back. My hair clung to my shoulders. My legs shifted restlessly beneath the wrap at my waist. And my chest rose and fell in shallow, irritated breaths. I was flushed. Wired and aching all over. It wasn't just boredom anymore. It was hunger. The kind that builds quietly until it takes over your whole body. My thoughts drifted to the man at check-in. Tall, lean, older. Barely looked me in the eye, but noticed everything. And his brother broader. Louder, with that grin that lingered a little too long. Neither of them said anything inappropriate. But they didn't have to. My eyes flicked to the phone on the nightstand. Was it too much, too obvious? Maybe not. Maybe they could help. I reached out anyway, letting my fingers hover over the keypad for a second, longer than I needed to. Then I picked it up and dialed the front desk. The phone rang twice before someone answered. Front desk came the familiar voice, calm, polite. The same one who checked me in hours ago. "Hi," I said softly, letting the word linger. "I need help with something in my room." A pause. "What kind of help?" I smiled. "Could you come take a look? I think it's better if I show you." Another pause, then sure. "Be right there." I hung up before he could say anything else. Still wrapped in terry cloth, warm from the shower, I sat up and let my fingers drift along the edge of the fabric at my thighs. For a second, I considered changing. Maybe the thin tank top I'd packed, or that old shirt I usually wore to bed. But I didn't move. This was enough. I walked slowly toward the door, letting each step settle me deeper into the moment. A knock came less than a minute later, then a second firmer one. I opened it, they were both there. The tall one stood slightly back, quiet, observant. His brother was closer, broad and solid, his knuckles still raised from knocking. Their eyes dropped almost immediately. I watched them take in the soft wrap, the damp strands of hair, the warm glow behind me. "Something wrong in here, the strong one?" asked his voice, low but polite. I didn't move aside, just tilted my head. "That depends," I said. "Are either of you good with hands-on problems?" Their expressions changed. Just a flicker, but enough confusion giving way to something sharper. Focused. I stepped back, the tall one moved first. Slow and unsure, the strong one followed, glancing between me and the room like he needed something to focus on. I closed the door behind them. The air felt heavier, now closer. They lingered near the wall. Posture uncertain, I passed between them, the edge of the fabric brushing against my legs, their attention drawn to every step. I didn't call because something was broken. I said I just didn't feel like being alone anymore. They didn't answer, still waiting. Still unsure, so I made the choice for them. I turned to the tall one and stepped in. He looked at me, right at me, but stayed still, so I reached for his hand and placed it at my side. Lightly steady, he didn't pull away. His palm was warm, calloused, careful. The strong one waited a moment, then stepped closer. His hand rested on my shoulder and slowly moved along my arm, testing the space I was giving him. I smiled, let them feel how steady I was. How certain then, without a word. I let the wrap fall loose. It slid softly to the floor and I kissed the tall one first. The kiss deepened the moment our lips touched again. I pulled the tall one closer with both hands at his collar, then broke away just long enough to grip the strong one's shirt and draw his mouth to mine. Back and forth, I kissed them both, slow, deliberate, letting them feel just how much I was in control. Their hands hovered, unsure where to settle, so I took them one at a time and placed them where I wanted. At my hips, along my waist, against the small of my back. I looked up at them, my breath warm against their necks. "Take it off," I said, nodding toward their shirts. All of it. They hesitated for only a second. Then the tall one pulled his shirt over his head. The strong one followed, revealing solid shoulders, a wide chest, and a quiet urgency in the way his fingers moved. I didn't rush them, I wanted to watch. When they reached for me, I shook my head. Not yet. I lowered myself to the floor. Slow and sure, I started with the tall one, my hands resting at his hips, lips parting as I invited him in. His breath hitched, his fingers paused, then gently threaded into my hair. But he didn't guide or press. I stayed in control. I set the tone. I teased him with my mouth, tracing soft circles, letting him feel each shift in pace. His thigh muscles twitched beneath my palms. I listened closely for every sound I wanted to make. Him work to stay still, then I turned to the strong one. He was already wound tight, anticipation running through him. I let my hand explore, first calm, deliberate before leaning in again. His breath slipped out rough. I paused, then gave him the same slow attention, changing rhythm, adjusting touch, never offering too much at once, watching them respond, watching control unravel. I kept alternating, my lips on one, my hand on the other, careful and intentional. The air felt heavy with concentration. Every second moved to my pace, my choices, but inside I was still hollow. What I stirred in them didn't stir anything back in me. I gave and still felt untouched, still unsatisfied. "Bed," I said, standing tall again. Now we moved together. Sheets rustled, limbs shifted, and I leaned back. But not to yield, only to lead. I stayed upright, pillows at my back, and gently pulled the strong one between my legs, curling my fingers into his hair. He moved with quiet focus, gentle, steady. His mouth began to explore, soft and thoughtful. I closed my eyes and tried to let it carry me, let it unspool the ache that had taken root. The tall one stayed near, I reached for him and brought him close, brushing my lips over him again, syncing one rhythm to another. The room was filled with breath and movement, and the hush of shared effort. Their hands were steady, their mouths responsive, their focus unwavering, and mine stayed silent. I was flushed, too aware of everything caught between wanting and waiting. Like running through fog, I reached, but nothing ever met me. I shifted, held one tighter, encouraged the other with my touch. My breath, my body, still no release. Frustration bubbled not at them, but at the craving that wouldn't ease. I let out a sharp breath and sat up. I eased myself into the strong one's lap, settling down with a quiet exhale. His hands came to rest at my waist, like he didn't know whether to lead or follow. So I took the lead again. I began to move, rolling gently, directing every motion. My hands anchored on his shoulders. My legs locked in. I shifted my hips over and over, searching for something just out of reach. I leaned forward, bringing the tall one close again, and welcomed him into my mouth once more. They were all in offering me touch energy. Presents, I had every part of them. And still I felt empty. I pressed down with more intention, let my mouth move with more purpose. My whole body tightened around the effort, repeating, hoping, needing. My breath caught my body, lifted. I hovered on the edge, and yet nothing gave. There was no shaking, no wave. Just fire burning low and deep, but never breaking overheated, unreleased, swallowed by sensation and still starving for more. So I kept going, and still nothing. Don't hold back, I said. Locking eyes with them pushed me past my limits. That was all it took, no hesitation. No second guessing. Something shifted, like they'd been waiting for permission. They moved fast together. I was turned, repositioned, drawn to the center of the bed with a firm, practiced grip. Their hands were everywhere, steadying me, placing me on all fours like I was meant to be there, one behind me, one in front. Their presence closed in, solid and inescapable. The strong one adjusted behind me. I felt his hands firm at my waist, careful for just a breath. Then his body pressed close, forceful and sure, no more restraint. The tall one moved in front. His hand slipped into my hair, not tentative this time. He brought himself to my lips again, more certain, more intense. I welcomed him without hesitation, adjusting as he leaned deeper. My throat caught my fingers curled into the sheets. They weren't matching my rhythm anymore. They created their own, and I had to keep up. His motion carried forward, steady and unrelenting, making my eyes sting with effort. Behind me, the strong one's hands tightened, guiding me closer as his rhythm grew heavier. I tried to let out a sound, but it disappeared into breath and movement and warmth. There were no questions, no gentle touches, and I didn't need either, because this was what I asked for. They moved in contrast, one guiding me forward, the other drawing me back. My arms shook from the effort of keeping up, but I didn't stop. They kept me close, held by momentum and urgency. When the tall one eased back, I gasped, only for the strong one to pull me in tighter with renewed intent. His breath was ragged behind me, his grip steady. He wasn't slowing down. Neither was I. My head dipped, my body curved inward. I lifted my gaze again, ready for the next wave, and they didn't make me wait. I barely had time to catch a breath before I felt their hands on me, again lifting, shifting, turning me like they already knew exactly what came next. They didn't give me time to recover. The tall one pulled me upright while the strong one raised my hips, adjusting me with steady confidence. I was dazed, breathless, my body pliant as they turned me onto my back. Head tipped over the edge of the bed, legs loose and hanging, every part of me exposed to their intent. I blinked at the ceiling, the world upside down. barely able to register the shift before they were on me again. The strong one stepped between my legs. Finding his rhythm without pause, his movement was firm and immediate, like he knew exactly how to unravel me. My hands gripped the sheets behind my head. Then the tall one leaned in, claiming my lips again with more urgency, guiding my breath as I adjusted to his pace. There was no control left, not even the illusion of it. I welcomed him as best I could, shifting with the motion, breath catching as tension climbed. My throat tightened, arms strained. Breathing grew shallow, I couldn't speak. Every part of me responded, drawn in, swept up alive. I tried to make a sound, but it vanished into heat and movement. A muffled moan stalled in my chest, caught beneath the pressure building in every limb. I trembled under the rhythm of their effort, unable to hold still. Then the tall one paused, holding steady. His presence pressed at my lips, firm but controlled, while the strong one kept going, measured. Deliberate, each movement carrying sensation further. And suddenly everything gave way. The pressure I'd been chasing all night finally broke loose. It surged through me like a wave, sudden and all-consuming. My spine lifted off the bed. My legs jolted outward. I let out a sound I couldn't contain. Fractured and raw as the moment overtook me completely. My body jolted with every ripple, and tears streamed silently, slipping toward the floor. But they didn't stop. The strong one stayed in rhythm. The tall one pulled back just enough for me to catch a breath, then leaned in again with a quiet, guttural sound that vibrated through my chest. I had just broken apart, and they were only getting started. I barely felt them move me again, somewhere between shallow breaths and scattered thoughts. The strong one lay back on the bed and brought me with him, settling me across his lap, my legs still unsteady from what had just passed. My body followed without resistance. Carried by instinct, I tried to steady myself, tried to catch up to the moment, but then I sensed the tall one moving behind me. His hands steadied at my waist. And then came something different, lower. Slower, unexpected. I inhaled sharply, not from pain, but from pure surprise. He moved with care, his motion deliberate and steady, easing into place like it was inevitable. My head dropped forward, breath caught in my throat. Lips parted in disbelief as I adjusted to the new intensity. They surrounded me now, one beneath me guiding my motion, one behind anchoring each shift in rhythm. It felt like my body wasn't mine anymore. Taken by motion, sound, and sensation I couldn't contain. They moved together seamless, controlled, like they knew exactly how to pull me apart. My limbs reached without aim. My fingers slid across the strong one's chest. Trying to hold on, I made sounds I didn't expect. Half sentences, breathless vowels. None of it made sense, but it didn't have to. The tall one leaned close, his breath warming my shoulder, his lips brushed skin gentle. Intentional. Enough to draw a sound from somewhere I hadn't reached before. My hips twitched, my core braced. Every part of me answered before I could think. But they didn't slow, their rhythm stayed unbroken, steady, relentless. I rested my forehead to the strong one's chest muscles, limp. Thoughts dissolving my voice slipped out in a whisper. "Please," I said, not even sure what I needed. Only that I didn't want it to end. They didn't lay me down, they lifted me. One pair of arms hooked beneath my thighs, the other supporting my back. I was suspended between them, weightless, breathless, held aloft like I was nothing but need and surrender. My head dropped back, vision blurring. Lips parted in disbelief. Then they moved again together, aligned. Steady, they returned to motion as one supporting from underneath the other. Steady behind, there was no gentleness left. No pacing, just rhythm-focused, powerful, unrelenting. My legs kicked through the air. My arms reached around shoulders I couldn't hold on to. Their grip firmed, keeping me centered, holding me in place as their rhythm carried through every part of me, washing away anything that came before. I cried out, not from pain, from everything. Their mouths found me in turns, one at my neck, the other pressing warm kisses to my chest. I felt lips graze, breath tremble. Fingers tighten, they didn't speak. They didn't need to, their focus was total. So was mine, every part of me was caught, lifted. Moved, surrounded. I couldn't pull away, I didn't want to. I was theirs and they knew exactly how to unravel me. My spine arched. My breath vanished. My whole body tensed, and then it happened. The second release rushed through me with startling force. It overtook me, swift, electric. Impossible to hold back, I sobbed through it. Body jolting in their arms. Legs suspended midair, no control left to hold on to. My voice cracked. My muscles twitched and I let go, completely still. They didn't stop, I couldn't speak. I couldn't form words, just gasps. Just shudders, just the echo of everything they were pouring into me. And then I felt them change. Their rhythm faltered, their breath caught. Their grip drew tighter, and with one final wave of motion, they broke, groans pressed to my skin. Their bodies shivering around me. They lowered me gently, finally letting go. I collapsed onto the bed, spent and shaking. Limbs tangled, breath ragged. Vision swimming, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak, but for the first time all night. I didn't need anything more. Now answer me, if you were in that room, could you keep up with me on your own? Or would you've needed backup too? Tell me in the comments, I'll be reading. And if you haven't already, hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss what comes next. Thanks for being here and for making this channel possible.